Coming up next, we have a pair of guests. We're going to be a part of the Shakespeare in the Park coming later this month. It is Hubcity Theatre, and we have Cody Bolton and Melanie Mealey with us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
That was almost like coordinated.
We planned that, didn't we?
That was... You had the 10 seconds before we went on air to be like, yeah.
That's right, we did not.
We're gonna start off with a bang.
That's right, yeah.
Because if you just start off with a nice punch and then, you know. But either way, Twelfth Night. So why Twelfth Night? I guess, Cody, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year last year for Shakespeare in the Park we did Hamlet, and so we try to kind of intersperse our shows. We try to do tragedy or history and then comedy. And so this year the natural next fit was a comedy, and we were trying to decide maybe what kind of comedy we wanted. We had a couple options on the table. I mean, Shakespeare did have quite a few. This year we settled on Twelfth Night, and interestingly enough, Twelfth Night is actually the first show, first Shakespeare in the Park show that Hubcity is doing that we were actually repeating a show. We actually did Twelfth Night. Would have been about 10 years ago now, 9 or 10 years ago, long before I was with the company, in Hubcity Theatre's earlier days. And so what we obviously knew, if we were doing Shakespeare in the Park, or if we were doing Twelfth Night again, it had to be something fresh. It had to be a new vision. And certainly our director, Paul Power, the director of the show, certainly brought that in a very new way with some swashbuckling pirate themes. It takes on a very nautical flavor to it, and the text has that anyway. But also with some gender swapping as well going on. Okay. I'm sure Mel will talk about that a little bit there too.
It is hashtag 2018. So
yeah, absolutely.
You have to make sure you cover it, and it's topical, which is great.
Exactly.
And it's you mentioned nautical. I mean, Moncton is a rich nautical history, so that's a great connection as well. Melanie, you play Duke Orsino.
I do.
And as we mentioned, that is a male character.
Yep.
Beyond the gender bending or the gender switching or whatever it is that is going on. What's it like to play Duke Orsino in this classic?
This one's a lot of fun because the Duke is he's a lot of talk, and he's all about like, I'm such a ladies' man, and so I'm having to access something that is not really intrinsic to who I am. But I have some friends and whatnot who I can sort of, that's where that insecurity comes from. So lots of inspiration everywhere. It's interesting though to take on a different, like find that masculine energy and how it plays with other characters who are in disguise as one gender or not, and it lends an interesting dynamic for sure.
Definitely. Let's talk about the park dynamic. As you mentioned the character, now let's talk park. What's it like to have to talk over barking dogs and buses and airplanes and so on? Is it a different environment outside? Do you find you enjoy it a little bit better? Yeah,
every show is different. Always, because there's always something happening, like, and you have to be super aware of your surroundings, and if there's a bus going by, then you just got to find a way to, like look like something else natural is happening for a little bit.
To integrate it into it a little bit. Yeah.
Last year we had an especially lively member of the audience who was a character in his own right and was very involved in the fight scenes, going, get him! So like, audience interaction sometimes happens, and it's a lot of fun.
It's always a memorable experience.
Always.
For the audience and the actors.
Yeah.
We'll be at Victoria Park, by the way, 2 weekends in July, the 19th to the 21st, and the 27th to the 29th. And Cody, we'll go next with you. The outdoor environment, as we mentioned, the environs and the people and how it can be really unpredictable. As an artistic director and as a little bit more into the directing side of it, how do you find that to be a challenge? Do you find that to add to the performance a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Paul Power is actually the director of the show for this time around. He's so I'm working more behind the scenes on this particular show. But yeah, I mean, there are challenges associated with performing outside from wind. I mean, we've had years where we've had set pieces maybe start to get maybe a little tilted on one side, or maybe start to fall a bit. That's part of being outside. And you know what? I think you anticipate those challenges ahead, and you try to figure, okay, what could go wrong, and what could we plan around. To the best of our abilities, because you can't plan for everything when you're outside in that environment. But I think that's also part of the fun of it and part of the excitement of seeing a show outside, and that lends itself to very well to Shakespeare. So I think that's really, I don't think we would ever consider like moving inside or anything like that. Shakespeare in the Park has been Hubcity's kind of foundation and pinnacle show of the season. And so to move it inside would be ridiculous. So I think for us, it's always such an exciting thing to be able to go back to a park perform outside. The audience loves it. It's something different that Moncton currently doesn't have in that form, and so we're really excited to offer that every summer.
And I think a really fun thing about doing Shakespeare in the Park is that it makes it accessible for people. It's not really threatening and intimidating. Like if you have to buy your ticket for a Shakespeare show and go to a theater, it's a little bit like, do I even belong here? But when you're in the park, it's just you can come and try it out, see what you think, and if you're not feeling the vibe, you can always wander off and come back. And
we have a lot of that happening when people just walk by. They'll get integrated. They'll be like, what's going on? They'll come and sit down and they'll watch. I mean, and the show is free. It's a free show. We're proud of ourselves on that every summer. Donations are of course accepted, but yeah, I think that's a really important thing that it draws people in, and anyone can come and watch it.
It makes it fun and friendly for kids too. My little nephew enjoyed it a lot the other year. He was like jumping up and down. He's like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen!" Like, that's great.
And sometimes those kids get involved later on too.
They do,
so hey, there you go.
They do, yeah.
You found your theater kids.
Yeah, my own children have been involved as well. Like,
That's a huge help. And you mentioned a little bit about the idea of performing outside and how things can be a little bit different. From an actor perspective, and you also alluded to this a little bit of going to a Shakespeare show and how it's Shakespeare, so you have to, prim and proper and do I really fit in here. When it's outside and those unpredictable things happen, do you find you rely a little bit more on your improv bone to make things happen, or do you stick to the script?
It's really tough to improv in Shakespearean language, so usually we just try to find our way back into the lines and the script. But sometimes things go off the rails and you just find your way back in. And that is part of what makes theater fun versus a movie too, right? Is that it's a different experience every time. And sometimes when you can see that, that was not supposed to happen. That's what makes for a little extra entertainment.
There's always there's always an energy of a live performance that you just don't get on a silver screen. You just don't get it.
Yeah.
If you could harness it and then put it in a movie, they would have already done it.
Right.
So to have that energy is so key. At Victoria Park, by the way, later this month, July the 19th to the 21st and the 27th to the 29th, 12th Night for Hubcity Theatre, Shakespeare in the Park. I had an awesome question, and now I remember it. Cody, see how I did that? See how I did that? You mentioned that Hubcity Theatre has done Twelfth Night before.
Yes.
And you had said that there was an idea to make it fresh because, of course, they already performed it. What elements have you guys looked at in order to keep it fresh?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think this goes for Shakespeare in general. The goal every time you perform Shakespeare is to make it fresh. There's been adaptations of shows all over the globe, of shows. So we want to always be finding a way that is unique to us here in Moncton, to our culture, to the climate where we are in here. And I think for this show, like I said, we do have some gender swapping, of course, with Mel, and there are several other characters too that are gender swapped. We have this again, this pirate theme that is definitely the vision that Paul has. It's definitely unlike other versions of Twelfth Night that I've seen. So, and then of course also doing it in Victoria Park and the setting that we have there. We don't always we always try to find a setting that fits, or a location in the park that fits what we're trying to convey with the show. So I think with those things, and I want to also mention, we also have live musicians this time around too. It's an added bonus really. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it lends itself to a show. This time it certainly did. And so we have live musicians for the show this time around, which is certainly going to add a new kind of dynamic element to it.
So you mentioned you find a different area of the park perhaps that might better suit it.
Yep.
Do you play the venue as much as you might play the play, so to speak? If you find something that really works.
Oh yeah, I'm walking through the gardens at a couple of points and talking about sweet beds of flowers and stuff. It works with the script, it works with the location, and other times as well we've been able to sort of hide behind bushes.
It's sometimes, in some cases, performing in the park is almost easier for some of the actors in terms of actually getting into the part and getting into the role, because sometimes it lends itself to the text and the setting that's kind of going on at the time in the text and in the play. So like we said, walking in the garden, you have to hide behind something. Yeah. Some of those things are naturally there, so it's it's always fun.
You don't have to make them out of cardboard and stick them up with the little thing and hide behind the little cardboard bush.
No, I've never done that before.
It's much easier on props. Okay, we've got about 30 seconds. For those interested for upcoming shows, perhaps auditions, how can they get in contact? And as well, how can they get more information?
Yeah, so you can, really the best way to check out more information on this show is check out our Facebook page, Hubcity Theatre, and that's actually, we've just reached our milestone, a number of likes, so we're upwards of 1,000 there, and so which is exciting for us. But we're also, 12th Night has an event page as well on Facebook, and we have all our information on there. That's really the best place to keep updated, most updated on us. And you can also send us a message on there, and that's really the easiest way to get
And Instagram?
And of course, yeah.
And social medias.
Oh,
it is hashtag 2018. The social medias are very important. So check out Hubcity Theatre Shakespeare in the Park coming later this month, July 19th, 21st, and 27th, 29th in Victoria Park.